We've tracked the CIA through chemical warfare, political coups, and psychic lures, but the ideal intelligence weapon is one that leaves no trace, requires no physical entry, and delivers its payload through a wall, or glass, or air. The ideal weapon is invisible energy. By the 1970s, reports began filtering back to the Langley from Eastern Bloc and Soviet Post. U.S. personnel were experiencing crippling, bizarre physical assaults, sudden vertigo, cognitive fog, agonizing pressure, and a sound only they could hear. This forced the creation of the Acoustic/Microwave Attack Assessment File, the urgent top secret intelligence investigation into the perfect non lethal or lethal directed energy weapon. Today we dive into the technical intelligence analysis contained within the CIA RDP85 2R series. We're going to break down the two plausible scientific explanations for the invisible bullet and why the CIA knew the age of the frequency war had begun. The genesis of this file wasn't a single incident, but a pattern. For decades, the U.S. Embassy in Moscow had been bathing in low-level microwaves. The infamous Moscow signal, we briefly covered that in a prior episode, a crude attempt at surveillance or disruption, but by the 70s the attacks were more acute, more focused, and debilitating. Personnel reported symptoms that defied conventional diagnosis: sudden localized pain, extreme nausea, and a crippling inability to concentrate. Analysts quickly zeroed in on two primary documented and terrifying scientific mechanisms that could cause this damage without a trace. The CIA RDP85 00192R series, filed under Technical Intelligence Assessment, confirms the urgency of identifying the source. The file focused on if the attacks were happening. The file wasn't focused on if the attacks were happening, but how they were happening. And I briefly said that we covered the Moscow signal just a moment ago. Just to be clear, if you're wondering what episode that is, that's the episode on Havana Syndrome. So there you go on that. So again, the file wasn't focused on if the attacks were happening, but how they were happening. An internal assessment from the mid-70s laid out the chilling core problem. This is an exact quote. The reported physical effects are consistent with focused non-ionizing energy deployment. The difficulty lies in isolating the specific frequency band, sonic, infrasound, or electromagnetic, microwave, and confirming the existence of a portable tactical deployment system. End quote. The Invisible War had two fronts: the low-frequency sonic weapon and the high-frequency microwave cannon. The CIA analysis demanded simultaneous investigation into both plausible mechanisms. Front 1, the infrasound weapon, the brown noise threat. Infrasound is sound pitched below the range of human hearing, below 20 hertz. It can travel vast distances and penetrate most materials. While you can't hear it, it directly impacts the human body, specifically the vestibular system, which controls your balance, into the chest cavity. The threat is if infrasound at specific high amplitudes can cause extreme nausea, dizziness, disorientation, and even bowel failure, it is the perfect debilitating non-lethal attack. The CIA's analysis of Soviet psychoacoustic research confirmed the plausibility of this technology. One internal analysis noted the operational advantage of the low-frequency weapon. They said, quote, "Infrasound deployment offers near-perfect deniability. The psychological and physical symptoms are highly subjective and mimic common stress responses, making formal medical attribution impossible without advanced spectral analysis." End quote. Front 2, the pulsed microwave weapon, the Frey effect. The second and arguably more bizarre front was the microwave RF energy. Analysts focused heavily on the Frey effect, or radio frequency hearing. Discovered in the 1960s, this is the documented phenomenon where pulsed microwave energy absorbed by the head generates a thermoelastic wave around the inner ear, perceiving a sound, a distinct localized clicking, buzzing, or hissing sound. The threat: a directional microwave device could beam pulsed energy at a target inside a building, causing not only debilitating auditory hallucination, but potentially thermal damage to brain tissue. A highly classified CIA RDP85 technical intelligence finding explicitly flagged the unique nature of the assault. Quote, the reported auditory effects, specifically the hissing or clicking localized entirely within the cranial space of the target, is consistent with the known mechanism of the pulsed microwave auditory effect, requiring a highly directional antenna and specific frequency modulation. End quote. This quote confirms the agency was not chasing folklore. They were tracking a very real, documented neurological phenomenon weaponized by foreign intelligence. The ultimate challenge of the acoustic microwave assessment was the countermeasure. How do you defend against an attack you can't see, hear, or touch? The answer, material and structural hardening. The assessment concluded that standard diplomatic construction was useless. Analysts explored specialized shielding, like applying non-conductive layers to walls and installing fine copper mesh within windows to try to counter the microwave energy. This was expensive and very impractical. 2. Detection systems. Analysts worked to deploy portable spectrum analyzers and specialized acoustic sensors to detect the unique low frequency and high frequency signatures. But detection was a massive undertaking. Finding a silent sonic weapon in a bustling city was a logistical nightmare. The file ultimately ended not in victory but in a compromise. The U.S. intelligence community confirmed the plausibility and operational utility of the invisible weapon, forcing a permanent shift in how physical security was managed at U.S. diplomatic posts worldwide. The frequency war was now real. The acoustic microwave assessment file confirms the intelligence world's fear of the weapon that leaves no trace. It forced us to accept that the very air around us can be weaponized. We have finished the technical weapons file for the day. Now we're going to confront an anomaly so rare, so intensely energetic, and so documented that it defies every conventional physics explanation. Next time, we're pivoting to a deeply obscure, high-energy event, a file referred to as the Fireball Incident, the original obscure analysis of massive unexplained energy anomaly that caused widespread communication disruption and radiation signatures near a high-value Soviet facility. We will analyze the CIA RDP84T series memos, detailing the agency's frantic assessment of this UFO-like phenomenon, assessing whether it was hostile energy test, an orbital vehicle, or something else entirely. We're going from the invisible bullet to the uncontrollable energy anomaly. The truth found in these archives is utterly mesmerizing, and I'm sure that, like me, you're compelled to keep exploring. I'll see you in the archives.